Farah Hannoun for MMA Junkie, and I'm joined by former two-time welterweight title challenger Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's apparently quite the dancer as well. Stephen, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. How about yourself? Glad to be on with you guys. So I appreciate you guys thinking of me.
Of course, and thank you for your time. How are you dealing and coping with everything? I've seen you're pretty active on your YouTube channel. You're teaching. You're on Twitch, communicating with your fans. Just tell me how this time has been for you.
Well, as you can tell, if you saw my last video, I posted up one of my last videos. I posted it up on Instagram. You come up with all kinds of crazy stuff when you got a lot of time on your hands. So, we're bringing the 80s back. But yeah, we're doing all kinds of stuff. Staying active here at the school. Of course, it's just me and my family here. We're running online classes for our students. On Twitch on a regular basis, me and Chris Weidman and a bunch of my buddies, Stipe Miocic, we'll get on and kind of get on Twitch and talk with the fans a little bit. Just another revenue to where you can kind of go in and chat with fans, when you're not in a stressful situation like a fight week or something. And so, yeah, we're staying pretty active for sure.
And I have to commend you because prior to this, you've been really good with your YouTube channel. I mean, is this something you've always thought of doing? Was it more about connecting with your fans, teaching, a bit of both? Like, what made you want to start a YouTube channel?
It's actually a bit of both, and it all came out where we had the idea of doing a YouTube channel leading up to the fight with Rory McDonald several years back. I was there during the fight week, preparing for the weight cut, and I had my dad, my brother, Chris Weidman was in the house with me. He helped corner me in that fight, and we did a Facebook Live like every day, and we called it the Wonder Walk. And it was just us chatting about, fight camps and what I'm doing to prepare for my weight cut and how I think my opponent's going to act in the cage. And people were like, man, dude, you guys are good at this. You should do a YouTube channel. So me and my brother has been talking about it for the longest time. And finally, about a year ago, we just decided to do it. And we were just kind of winging it. We did it for the fun of it. And my brother Tony was kind of new to the whole camera and filming and things like that. So we were just winging it, to be honest with you. And I didn't realize it was going to blow up the way it did. Within several months, we had over 100,000 subscribers. We're working on 200. We're at 157, 158,000 subscribers now. So, yeah, it was just a way to kind of give back to the fans a little bit. I have such a unique and different style. You're starting to see more and more of it in the MMA scene. But I have just a different style of fighting that you mostly see. You see a lot of the wrestlers or Muay Thai or boxing, but very rarely do you see the karate style, and it's different. And I've had a lot of fans asking me, about different techniques and strikes. So so we have a technique Tuesday. We do every Tuesday, every other Thursday we have a vlog. So it's been a lot of fun.
Well, it's definitely come in use at these timings that you're able to stay active and effective because, of course, you do teach as well. Let's talk about your last fight. Phenomenal performance, kind of vintage Stephen Thompson, minus the finish. But for me, that performance was near flawless. How would you assess your performance? And when you look back at your last few fights, because you had a little bit of frustrating ones tactically with guys that aren't willing to engage with you. But we've seen when guys like Masvidal or Vicente Luque are willing to engage, what you could do. So was it exciting to fight somebody that was going to bring the fight to you?
It really was. It really was. I knew stepping out there with Vicente Luque, number one, he's very difficult to put away. He's just a tough guy. Ended up breaking both my hands on his hard head, I think in the second round. But I knew it was going to be very difficult, and I knew it was going to be – I was prepared for that. And a lot of guys, when you go out there and you're trying to knock somebody out or you hit them with some good shots and they get right back up and literally with a smile on their face and get right back at it, right back in your face, it can be kind of demoralizing. It can break people mentally. So I was prepared for that. And yeah, I had some controversial losses, and then I ended up getting knocked out by Anthony Pettis, which, was first for me. I've never been knocked out my entire fight career. So people were talking on social media saying, does Stephen still have it? Is his chin been affected by that? I'm 37. I'm not getting any younger, but I feel like I'm 23, 24 years old, to be honest with you. And I wanted to show the fans in the UFC that you haven't seen the last of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, that I'm just as good or getting even better. I'm still improving every day. And of course, when I go back and watch that fight against Vicente Luque, there's always something that I can have done better. And that's the kind of mindset I have after a fight, win or loss. I always go back, I watch it, see what I can do better, see what I can improve on to be a better fighter. And that's my ultimate goal, is to be the best fighter in the world. And if that's to win the title, then that's win the title. But I want to be able to face the best fighters in the world as well. I mean, to say that you fought the best guys in the entire world, it's like something out of like an anime or something. I don't know. It's crazy. That that you can say that you've done that. It's a rarity, and one of the most ultimate and oldest sports known to man is the fight game. The Romans did it, in the Colosseum. I mean, they were killing each other, obviously, but that's how I feel when I step out there. I'm going out there and that's what it feels like. I'm nervous, I'm scared, and my mom is crying, before I walk out to the octagon, and before I say our goodbyes. It's almost like I'm going to my death, it feels like. But that's the mindset I have. But it's been great.
Was there any pressure at all going to the Vicente Luque fight? I mean, you said after the knockout loss to Anthony Pettis, people are saying, does Wonder Boy still have it and stuff? And Vicente is a phenomenal fighter. He was on a great win streak, finishing guys. Obviously doesn't have the name value like you do or some of your past opponents. So do you feel any pressure, like this fight is a must win, and if you don't win that fight, what it could do to your career?
Yeah, I mean, deep down, I felt like it was, because I've had those losses, and I was just knocked out, and then I took all summer off to just kind of refine myself and really give myself time to heal up from that knockout. But yeah, deep down, I felt like I had to win this fight, but I try and keep my mind off of it. I try to, leading up to the fight, just go out there like I normally do, with a smile on my face. I feel that if you can frustrate yourself too much, or think about a fight too much to where it messes with you. You can burn a lot of energy being nervous leading up to a fight. You can think about a fight too much to where when you step out in the octagon, you don't fight like you normally do. So, I've been in the game for a long time, so I knew going out there during the fight week, during camp, I just wanted to be like every other fight, prepare for it, do everything I can, put myself in uncomfortable situations to be able to be comfortable out there like I do every fight. And that's the mindset that I had. Like, it was just a normal fight. And, I fought, that was my third fight at Madison Square Garden. So I'm undefeated there. Even though, I had a draw with Pettit, with Tyron, I felt like I'm undefeated at Madison Square Garden. I try and get on that card, every year. I think I missed one so far, but I was injured. But yeah, that was kind of the mindset I had going into that fight.
And what do you predict is next? First of all, you see the UFC trying to scramble to make UFC 249 happen. A lot of fighters throwing their name in the hat. What's your stance on everything the UFC really trying to make events happen during this global pandemic? And were you one of the guys that told the UFC, like, I want to fight?
Well, I think it's been great what the UFC is doing. I mean, everything else has been shut down. It's really cool that the fact that the UFC is still trying to give, the fans or people at home something to watch. And they're struggling. They've been working really hard and doing it in the safest way possible. Like the last fight, there was no fans allowed in the arena. I know, I think I heard something that, Dana White would pick one person to come with him to the fight they're trying to get working out. But there has been a lot of fighters trying to get on that card. And it's mostly guys who were supposed to be on fights previously. So they went through a whole training camp. They're already in shape. For me, I've been out with 2 broken hands, and my right hand has been taking a long time for it to heal up and get back to normal. And as of right now, it's getting there. It's feeling great. Like I can spar. Bag work still kind of sensitive, but I would love to. I would love to get back out there and fight as soon as possible. Of course, I would love to go through a full training camp. I'm not in the greatest shape at the moment, just with everything going on. I haven't been able to. We've been trying to get our classes online ready, and that's just been. I've been working more than I normally do during a weekday with all this. So yeah, I mean, still training every day, still working with my strength and conditioning coach, still doing my physical therapy on my hand. But hopefully when all this is settled down, I can figure something out, talk with the UFC, get a fight coming up, and we'll get back at it. So as of right now, everybody's on hold. It seems like, and it doesn't look like this fight's going to happen. I hope it does, because that gives me something to do. Go home and watch a fight. But yeah, I really want to step out there as soon as possible. If it's these fights coming up, maybe not, but hopefully over the summer.
Okay, so I was going to ask that. So you'd say targeting a summer return. Obviously, we still don't know what's going to happen with the next couple of events, but
Right.
you'd say International Fight Week around that time would be a good date of return?
Yeah, that would be awesome. And hopefully that's still going to happen. I know a lot of things have been canceled. Hopefully International Fight Week won't be bad, because there's a lot of people that come in to Vegas for that. So hopefully it's something that will still happen. I'm usually either fighting or I'm there during International Fight Week. It's always a big time for me. But around that time, either July, August would be amazing too. So yeah, I mean, I'm in the top 5 right now. We're not really sure who they would put me up against. I'm asking for a top 5 guy, or give me a name, Colby Covington, Masvidal, if the Tyrant and Edwards fights doesn't happen, maybe Edwards. I mean, that would be an amazing fight too. So, keeping my options open, obviously, because I'm not really doing a whole lot right now, but we'll see.
So you'd actually be willing to run things back with Masvidal? I mean, you had a phenomenal performance. Is that a fight that interests you to run things back?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of giving me some inspiration. I was his last loss. And from then on, he's been on this awesome winning streak. He's one of the most popular guys in the UFC right now. And he's ranked higher than me. I mean, he's ranked number 3 or something like that, I think, 2 or 3. So, yeah, I mean, that's another guy. Obviously, if anybody that is ranked above me is an option. So I wouldn't mind it. I know he's always game to fight anybody. So, yeah, man, any one of those guys for sure.
Well, it looks like it's going to be Usman and Masvidal, and we don't know what's going to happen with Edwards and Woodley, because now Woodley is saying he's diverted his attention to Colby, so we don't know what's going on with those guys. But let's say with Edwards and Covington, do you have a preference in between those two? Would you rather fight?
It doesn't matter. Any one of those guys. And any one of those guys could be fighting for the title next for sure. So, I mean, anybody that's ranked above me, yeah. I mean, Colby Covington, it doesn't matter. Edwards, both guys are phenomenal fighters. I think Colby Covington is, the most predictable out of all. He's got a gas tank like crazy, and he just shoots. May not be the most exciting fight, but I wouldn't mind it. And Edwards is a high-level MMA fighter. And then when you first saw him, he was more of a striker, but now he's putting everything together, his wrestling, his jiu-jitsu. He was taking out RDA, controlling him on the ground. He did the same thing when he fought Vicente Luque. So those guys are very hard to prepare for. But those are the guys I like to fight, those guys that are very difficult to prepare for. It makes you have to use, that brain a little bit when you step out there.
Be quiet, guys. I'm bad.
How do you see the fight between Usman and Masvidal playing out? Who do you think takes that one?
Well, I know Masvidal's got great takedown defense. Usman's a very strong fighter, very, very strong wrestler. I believe he's not going to fight Masvidal like he did Colby Covington. I think he's going to shoot on Masvidal. He's going to try and take him down where he's more comfortable. And obviously Masvidal's a phenomenal striker. I face him, and I can see that. So Usman is definitely going to try and shoot. If Masvidal can keep the fight standing, can fight off his takedown and keep the fight standing, I think he wins it all day. Usman, it's very difficult, man, because that guy is relentless. And he's also got a gas tank too. And if they do fight, it's got to be a main event. They got to fight 5-minute round fights. So I think the cardio, the longer the rounds go, it favors Usman. And if it comes to the striking game, it definitely goes to Masvidal for sure. I don't like predicting fights because anything can happen. But that would be an exciting fight, a fight that I would be looking at very closely for sure.
And like you said, you're in the top 5. You're not too far off another crack of the title. And then the picture's changed a little bit from when you were fighting for the title. When you envision yourself fighting for the title, is there someone you see on the opposite side? Do you think Usman's still going to be champion when you get there? Not necessarily telling you to predict the Usman-Masvidal fight, but you know what I'm saying. Like, is there a certain guy that you expect to be champion when you fight, when you get there?
Yeah, I mean, it's always the champion today. So, you know, I know that could change definitely, but since he is the champion, that's the kind of that's who I see in my head is Usman. But you know, anything can happen up until then, and I'm prepared for that. You know, at every fight, I see myself with my hand raised at the end. You know, if it's a knockout, if it goes all 5 rounds, that's what I visualize is my hand raised with that belt around my waist, no matter who it is. So as of right now, I mean, that's the picture that I have is Usman for sure. I mean, he's the man, dude. He's the champ and a good one at that. I think he's a phenomenal champion.
And stylistically, you pose some interesting threats to Usman. I'm sure he's going to say that he's never fought somebody like you. That's the majority of guys that go up against you. How would you see a fight between you and Usman playing out?
Well, the thing is, Usman's a very intelligent guy. I mean, he does his studying. He watches his opponents, and I can tell that. I can see that. So, I mean, I don't think he would keep the fight standing. I think he would shoot on me as he does everybody else in the game. And besides Colby Covington, because both have a very similar style, I knew that they would want to keep the fight standing. And Usman's striking was amazing in that fight, especially his body shots. So he's definitely worked on his striking game, and he's still getting better every day. But, you know, my takedown defense, most of the guys in the division that I faced have been wrestlers and, you know, guys that are aggressive. So they kind of play into my style of fighting. So, you know, obviously I don't see him fighting. I think he's going to make some changes. And I'm going to be ready for that. My goal is to adapt to everybody that I face out there. And in my head, I see him just being a relentless wrestler, just getting me up against the cage, trying to tire me out like you see, you know, George St. Pierre do in the past against strikers. You know, George St. Pierre was one of the best wrestlers in the division. I think Usman is a better wrestler, but he uses a lot of guys. He uses a lot of guys, you know, that simulate. I think he's going to bring in guys to simulate my style as well. But most of those guys in that with that wrestling background get guys, strikers up against the cage to try and tire them out by using a lot of wrestling. So when they step back in the octagon, you know, or in the second round, or they step back to the center of the octagon, their arms are filled up with blood and it's very hard to work. But that's how I train. I train against high-level wrestlers. You know, Chris Weidman being one of the strongest guys in the division, strongest wrestler in the 185 division as well. So he's changed my game like crazy. My buddy Carl Reed, also, he's a 205er, high-level wrestler too, with great striking. So I'm used to that. So whatever he brings, I'm gonna be prepared for.
And I just want to go back. You were saying that you think Usman's a better wrestler than George St. Pierre. Are you going based off of credentials, or are you thinking because obviously George St. Pierre didn't actually come from a wrestling background, no NCAA or anything like that? Or are you, or is this you're talking about like fights in general? You think Usman's a better MMA wrestler than St. Pierre?
No, I think what I mean by that is MMA. MMA wrestling. I think GSP. When it comes to just collegiate wrestling and with a wrestling experience. Yeah. I think Usman for sure. But you got to remember when I met George St. Pierre, we were going to the Olympic Training Center like, you know, twice a week. I know him probably more than that, training with the world's best. So when it comes to MMA wrestling, I think we'd be able to put everything together, GSP. When it comes to collegiate and just wrestling experience at a high level, I think Usman. I mean, he's, you know, that's how he grew up. I mean, that was his background, was wrestling, and he's doing very well in MMA with his wrestling. So, yeah, man. When it comes to the wrestling experience, and I think, you know, just at a collegiate level, definitely Usman.
Well, I'll leave you with one last one. I appreciate the time. So you're talking International Fight Week. Who do you see in front of you in International Fight Week? Ideally, if you were to have it your way and hopefully everything gets better and the events come back on, ideally, who would you like to fight and when?
Well, hopefully, if some of these guys are available, you know, Usman or Colby Covington, those are the guys that I'm kind of looking at right now. I fought Tyron twice, man, and I don't think anybody really wants to see that fight again. I know he's trying to work his way up to fight again, but it may happen. But as of right now, you know, it could be, you know, I'm looking at Masvidal, I'm looking at you know, Colby Covington and Edwards is really who I'm focused on. And you know what? If they don't get any of those guys, give me a name. Give me Nate Diaz. I would fight that guy in a heartbeat. I would love that fight. And so, yeah, those are the guys that I'm kind of focused on, and those are the guys that I have in my head. Not any one certain guy, just all of them. Just give me all of them.
All right, Stephen. Well, I really appreciate you giving me the time. Really exciting to see who's next for you. You obviously had a phenomenal performance in your last one, and getting that much closer to right back at the top. It's a fresh picture in the welterweight division, and you're definitely in that conversation. So appreciate the time. Stay safe, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and love chatting with you. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. Hopefully when I get a fight coming up, we'll have another one. But I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.